Hi there, I'm Beetlejuice from Reddit's Wicked Edge, and this video is by request for subreddit Skincare Addiction, who have started a new feature called Teach It Tuesdays, and they've asked me to try and cover some of the common questions and a brief overview of what the deal is with wet shaving, the whys, the hows, and for Wicked Edge itself, this is probably going to cover a lot of our more beginner questions that come up. I'd like to start first of all by saying two things. One, I'm not an expert. Experts in wet shaving are few and far between. I could name a couple, Mantic 59, as well as Leisure Guy. There's also others, but just to plug the subreddit, those two actually do lurk around. There's also Commie Cat, who's big on straight razor shaving, and I know there's a ton of others that I'm missing, so please don't get offended. I have memory of a sieve. I'll be lucky if I can get through this without having to do a cut, edit, or restart. For the first time ever, I actually have a cheat sheet up behind the camera, so if you notice that I'm looking over, that's what I'm after. Okay, so establishing that I'm not God here. The other thing is, one of the big watchwords with wet shaving is your mileage may vary, or WMMV. Basically, what works for me might not work for somebody else exactly. The principles are basically the same. There are just little things that, some people can do one thing that a lot of other people can't. I'll talk about those as we go through. Just be aware that if you do decide to step into wet shaving, there's definitely the potential for some frustration, some struggle, and it's not uncommon. Don't think that you're doing something wrong. Just lock into some of the forums, ask the questions, do your reading, do your research. This is hardly comprehensive. So, with all the boilerplate, if you see a little bit of blood, not my fault. By the way, there is one instance of that. You may see blood during this. I'm notorious for getting a very small nick here and there as I'm doing these videos, because I really should be concentrating on shaving, not talking. And however, there are no, you notice I do not have the Frankenstein neck stitch. It's not as bad as you might think. So, to start with the big basic question, why wet shaving? Well, probably about 1950-ish, hard soaps started and brushes started going the way of the dinosaur, and canned foams and gels started coming online. The reason was twofold. One, consumers wanted something faster, better, more sciencey, and the space age was big, and hey, aerosol cans became the big thing, and all of a sudden everybody was trying to find a way to stuff something into a spray can. Along with that, when you sell a razor, the traditional razors, like this boy here, what you're selling is the handle. You sell this once, just like the razors of today. And then you sell these. These are double-edged blades. So noted because you have two cutting edges, one on either side. Well, the problem with this became these blades are stupid cheap. Even today, 5 cents a blade is not unheard of, or cheaper, if you buy them in bulk. So you made your money on the razor, and you then have to continue supporting it at, no real profit. The other problem is there's no way to stop somebody from making that style razor blade, which fits every other razor. So thus was born the cartridge system. And there have been various iterations of it in various flavors. Gillette is pretty much king of the heap for this. And as long as you're selling a cartridge, you can now charge more. And you can fix a lot of problems with this. This takes a little more skill. Not as much as, say, for example, a full-on straight razor. This guy. This requires more skill. This requires more knowledge if you're going to sharpen it and maintain it yourself. So, this died for the double edge. The double edge died for the cartridges. Now, cartridges, because the cutting angle is fixed, it's kind of a fast food restaurant philosophy. As long as it's consistent, it does not need to be excellent. In order to do excellent, you may not get excellent for everybody. That's a tailored system. That's not what you're selling. You're selling a mass-marketed, good enough product, which is where cartridges really excel. They're not great, but they're good enough. The other problem is with canned foams and gels is the propellants and the chemicals required to generate that foam, to generate that lubrication, or to hide the lack of lubrication more often the case. You have things like alcohols, isobutanes, propanes, which dry out your skin. It's a nasty witch's brew. To mask that, a lot of manufacturers are using things like menthol. And that's to give you that tingling sensation. The tingling sensation is there to mask the fact that you've actually ripped up your skin a bit. You've abraded the skin and it's irritated. But hey, it's got that menthol tingle, so it must have been good. Not so much. And electric shavers are another topic for another time. Essentially the same thing. Quicker, better, faster. How about 2 out of 3? Now, the other reason why there's some dislike in the wet shaving community of cartridge razors is this. This is like golf. The fewer passes that you can make, the better. The lower your score, the better. Within reason, of course. So, when I do a single pass with a double edge or a straight edge razor, I'm doing one blade, one time. With a multi-blade, 3 to 5, even with a 2. So if I need a 3-pass shave to do with a double edge, so that'll be one down, one across, and one against. That's potentially 15 times a single blade has crossed that skin. So that tends to be irritating, abrading, and then there's also the potential to have debris and sebum and so on trapped within the body of the razor cartridge, which can be problematic for infection. For sensitive types, it can be even more so. I personally had to give up on cartridge razors back in the day because of the lubrication strip was actually an irritant. But again, this is your mileage may vary. I'm not saying throw out your cartridge razor. If it works for you, there are techniques here that you can apply as well. As well, to get away from cartridge razors, of course, double edge and straight edge are your choices. The easiest learning curve is the double edge razor. It's not terribly dissimilar from the existing razor that you're using right now, potentially. The downside is that there are an absolute plethora of blade manufacturers, and the blade itself actually is as important or makes as much of a difference as the razor head itself. Again, this is something that we suggest when somebody gets into straight razor or double edge shaving. Collect or get what's called a blade sample pack, which is an assortment of blades from various manufacturers. Try them out, find out which works well for you. And again, patience and determination wins the day here. So the upside is that those blade sample packs are relatively cheap. Now, as for the soaps, there is typically two kinds. Tallow-based soaps, and yes, I'm sorry if you're vegan, those are not for you. The other is glycerin-based. There are also artisan soaps available. You do have to be careful with these, however. Just because someone says that they are shaving soaps doesn't mean that they are. There's also another class which is shaving oils. Those give you the capability of being able to give a waterless shave, and I have used those in the past. It's a nice, if you need or if you want. Again, mileage may vary. Some people love it. I'm in the if I don't want to carry a brush and soap and I need a shave, this is how I'd probably travel light. The other component of this is the brush. Several types. There's horsehair, synthetic. This is badger. And again, if you're vegan, you're kind of down to synthetic. Unless, of course, you don't mind the fact that the horses aren't harmed during the harvesting. Badgers, I'm sorry, it is what it is. The advantage with a brush is actually twofold, other than just generating the lather. And you'll see as I shave, when you're shaving, what you're doing, you're not just painting this on, you're actually massaging this in a circular fashion. And this provides the ability to force the foam to the base of the beard hairs and create a matrix of foam around them that holds the beard up away from the skin. So if it's flat, it'll actually support that. This isn't coarse. This is a very gentle, I'll stop short of saying exfoliation, because really I think the exfoliation component comes from the razor itself, but this certainly is an assist. It's a deeper cleaning than you'll get with just a basic face cloth, and it's less abusive than taking something like a loofah to your face. After that, there are other products as well. For example, this is Skin Food, which is a pre-shave treatment. It can also be a post-shave treatment. There's also pre-shave oils. I know of... of course. Glycerin soap. This is Musco Glice Lime Oil. And not a bad scent. You can use just a plain glycerin soap as well for a pre-shave. The benefit of that is, actually, this is the first time I actually get to talk about why it's called wet shaving. Hydration is ultra important here. Typically, it's as you step out of the shower, you want to start shaving. The reason is beard hairs, well, any hair in your body, swells between 200 to 300% once it's hydrated properly. Add to that, your skin itself, once properly hydrated, is more elastic and less prone to cut. Dry shave is a good way to turn yourself into a hamburger. Everything from where, say for example, a canned product uses alcohols and butanes and complete witch's brew to try and keep things feeling moist. This is actually providing hydration. The soap itself requires hydration. You hydrate your face, you make sure it's a constant keep it wet at all times. One of the bigger mistakes that beginners make is when they're shaving, it takes a while to get used to this and do it at a reasonable speed, so you'll actually see the foam collapsing and turning powdery, and this is where you need to stop, wipe off, start again. And that came to cost for me at least, learning how to do that. So let me get started here a bit because I am out of the shower, but I've been here talking for a little bit, so I'm a little bit dry. Again, you'll notice that it's not scrubbing in this case. I'm holding a warm, well, relatively hot actually, cloth to my face to try and hydrate the skin a little bit. And you'll see as I go along, as I'm talking, I'll splash water up onto my face as well. So, let's see. First step, again, I don't usually do this. This is the Let's Go Glice. And again, this is to impart hydration, soften the beard, get the skin elastic. The more, within reason, of course. I don't expect this soak for a week before you pick up a razor. And this is an optional step. Some people find this helps, some people don't. So something like that. Speaking of soaking the badger hair brush, or well, unless it's a synthetic, you'll likely be leaving the brush that you're using in the water until you're ready to make your lather, because it, like your beard, requires moisture to operate properly. And of course there are different flavors of soaps as well. There's also creams from various manufacturers. Everything from, what have they got here? Taylor of Old Bond Street, which is an old English group. There's Prorazzo from Italy. And North America, I believe there's Dreadnought. So, again, this is wet but clear. And I could have done that just as easily with just being a little faster out of the shower. Now, some of the mistakes that are commonly made. Gillette has stated that users of cartridge razors typically can put down pressure in excess of 1 kilo on the blade handle while shaving. Do that with this, you will regret it, I promise. So, as you notice, it's small circular motion. And this painting is just basically to keep everything tidy. Habit more than anything else. So, I'm going to do one other thing a little different. Stretching the skin also becomes important when you're using a system like this, simply because it keeps, for us older guys, it keeps some of the wrinkles under control. It also pulls some of the beard hair up, but you can't overstretch as well. So again, it's technique and time, but smooth, gentle, steady strokes. I'm not entirely sure if this is going to be a good idea or not, but seeing how you guys are guests, let's see if I can do left and right. Now, one other really important thing, and I believe this even comes down to cartridge shaving, beard mapping, and that's simply knowing which direction your beard grain goes. I'm a really miserable example because, with the exception of one spot on my face, which is right here, everything I have goes down. Here, I get a sweep like this. So let your beard grow up for a couple of days and have a look. See how it lies. Try to remember that pattern. Because when we talk about shaving, there's 3 ways that you want to go. That's with the grain, which is the pass that you just saw me do. So you're shaving into the direction that it grows naturally. Cross grain, which is just that, which I'm about to do. And then finally, and the reason is this: if you can't handle it because your skin won't put up with it, you will get ingrowns, you will get razor burn. And there's the blood I was talking about. That, by the way, is referred to as a weeper. Now, how to deal with that. Fortunately, I come well prepared for this. As my usual crew are quite aware, this is a styptic pencil. This is an astringent, a hemostop, and what that has done is it has, if you notice, it's prevented that from continuing to bleed. That will only work on smaller stuff. Anything that won't stop is probably going to require a band-aid. And I have a known trouble spot there, so again, like I said, like I promised, you will get to see blood here. So again, you know, because I've got less beard, I'm being a little more gentle in the circular stroke here. So, one of the common problems, again, like I said, ingrowns. Ingrowns can happen. Shaving in any direction, maybe too much pressure. Also looks like razor burn or barber's rash. Sometimes it'll look like little small, almost like acne bumps. Usually occur about a day or two after the shave, and they feel horrible. Absolutely horrible. So this is an against the grain pass. And I get another little bleeder there. Again, it's the result of talking and shaving. Light pressure, no matter what you're using. And again, this is utilizing gentle, even pressure. And by the way, it sounds terrible on this camera. It sounds like it's tearing. It's actually not. It's just the blade itself is very lively. So it transmits. It's almost like a mic. So, again, you notice every pass, every time I touch my face, it's fresh water. Or sorry, every time I touch my face, it's with foam in place. Don't double pass over an area that hasn't got lubrication. That's how you wind up carving yourself to ribbons. Ignoring that little. I recommend actually that you have at least a couple of years in before you try shaving on your own YouTube channel, by the way, as you can tell. Again, those are just little weepers, no big deal. Those will be well bled out before I have to head to work. So, now, aftercare. This is a alum block. There's several different manufacturers for these, providers for these. They're cheap. I've had that one for about 2 years, and I would love to know if there's anything gone off it. And the application is very easy. You just rub it over your face like so. This has two benefits. It's an astringent and a sterilizer. It will take care of very, very small weepers. But it's got a very alkaline base, of course, because it is aluminum chloride. Similar to the underarm crystals that you get. So, what I like to do after that is just pat down. At this point, you do not want to rub. If you do, you have to go with the grain. Your face is now very, very elastic, and the beard hairs are just at the surface. Push up. You will force the skin to wrap around that hair, and when that hair is in under the skin, it has no way to go but to grow up through, and it will usually not come through the follicle. It'll come through the side. That's how you get a razor bump, or a whole crop of them. What you're seeing me do here as well is this is my luxury shave, if you will, without the camera, of course. What this gives is basically a nice long paste shave. Now again, this is just warm, clear water, taking off some of that alum. Now, at this point, you have a couple of choices. You can walk away. Some do. Witch hazel. In this case, this is Thayer's. If you're feeling the burn, this is wonderful stuff. Particularly the mint. Is it menthol or mint? Peppermint. The peppermint one is excellent as you're starting out. It saved me when I was first learning. Again, there's things like skin food, several balms. I'm partial to this. This is jojoba oil. Chemically very similar to sebum, which is your face's or your body's natural oils. And what I find is after shaving, it's such a soap intensive and abrasion intensive process that you wind up with a lot of your dead skin removed from the process. And I live in a fairly dry environment, so I suffer a windburn and near frostbite and everything else. So that becomes problematic for me. I find this helps. Might not help everybody. Again, it's the your mileage may vary thing. Now, once that's complete, your leftover aftershave. Don't need it. I personally do, and I'm a bad panda for this. I use what's called bay rum. This is the traditional recipe, which is 40% alcohol, Pamea rosea, which is the original bay rum plant, not the bay leaf, not the cooking bay leaf. And actually it's slightly poisonous, as in it's fine to rub on your face, don't drink it, which is why they put it in the stuff in the first place. A bit of cinnamon and of course lime rind. I make my own, that way I know what went in it. And the advantage is cinnamon is a little bit of an antibiotic, as is the bay rum extract, as is alcohol. And again, for abraded areas or whatever, I find it works well. Some people don't like it. There are alcohol-free versions, and like I said, you don't even need to go that far. At this point, your head's probably swimming, and I'll take you back to the first thing I said. Your mileage may vary, and this is prime example. You ask 10 people in the wet shaving community exactly how they do it, and I guarantee you you're going to get 10 different answers if they give you full-on details. There are people that say that I'm crazy for using alcohol, that, that particular razor doesn't work. Oh my God, I can't believe you use those blades. It's a find your own path thing, but what you wind up with at the end is a shave that is absolutely superior to anything you'll get from a fast food style cartridge razor and canned foam. As for the tried to come up with a couple of myths. One, of course, is the hair grows thicker if you keep shaving it. Well, in fact, actually it doesn't. If that was the case, there'd be some women walking around with leg hair that would rival my beard. Doesn't happen. Hair will grow as thick or as thin as it is supposed to. And that's DNA and nothing but. As you get older, of course, your hair darkens, particularly for blondes, and that can be where some of that myth comes from as well. One that I'd like to address is for the straight razors. You'll cut your head off, you'll cut your neck, you'll kill yourself. You can't, actually. Short of falling on it while you were walking and had it open, which is stupid, or deliberately trying to kill yourself, the jugular veins are fairly deep. The carotid arteries are far deeper again. In order to accidentally get one of these, you've really got to work at it. And as for, it's way sharper than a knife, it's way sharper than a scalpel. I've not encountered a razor yet that is sharper than a straight razor, however, in terms of a blade. You're talking about consciously doing damage to yourself without intervening. Think about it. If you cut yourself with a knife, don't do this, but imagine taking your thumb and pressing it into a knife. As soon as you hit pain, you will retreat. This is the same thing. Now, there are some accidents, of course, but other than a deliberate act, no one has died using a straight razor. I'm sure there's somebody that's been shot through a window or something, but that's beyond the scope of this. Anyway, I know this is an awful lot to absorb, and I'm quite sure that not all of it is going to agree with everybody. But I will say this, if you are interested, I will begin later on this evening to try and answer some of the questions I didn't cover in this, and I'm going to cross-link this to Wicked Edge as well, so hopefully some of the guys will be able to cover off in my absence. Other than that, that was the other one. shaving in intimate areas and underarms, legs, and so on. Essentially the same rules apply. There's no real difference between shaving your head, shaving your face, shaving your legs, or any of the other fun areas. Hydration, light pressure, proper lubrication. Take your time. Go slow. Go with the grain only until you are sure that you can go against the grain or cross grain. Experiment. Learn. Everybody's body is slightly different, so that's probably one of the biggest reasons why we get the your mileage may vary line that comes up so much. There's so many variants that do kick in with this, and that's why Gillette rules with the cartridge razor, is because they've come up with something that is good enough for many, many types. Treat this more like cordon bleu cooking. It costs a little more initially. It's actually cheaper in the long run, ironically, unless you get into collecting, but again, that's beyond the scope of this. It's better, and it doesn't take that much longer once you get into it. So, till next time, Skincare Addiction and Wicked Edge, I'm Beetlejuice, and keep them sharp.